defuse, but Spitty will not miss. And Sprout converts. A close one with both AWPers having impact, but they still can't quite get across the finish line. Good news for Sprout, they actually won that round. Otherwise, this is where that Spitty mishap could have really come back to bite them. But we'll see if they can lead at halftime. Both teams had a slightly better T-half. Oh, the flick snatch. She gets dinked, but still connects onto Lekro. Finished off by the HE. Dennis goes aggressively, catching AZ in transition. He's moving from the CT side, trying to get up close. Will be planted momentarily. Last round of the overtime. North will be going for this, of course. Incendiary banked off the girder back onto the site. Frees up a little bit of space to move in, but now Dennis makes the most of this momentary weakness. Is he actually going to go for the knife? For a second, I thought... And 2 rounds away from booking their spot at the highest seed. Yes, it's just easy to follow. I mean, sure, I get you. I think one of the best parts about Counter-Strike, and I say this with meaning a positive way, but on a very base level, it's quite simple. There's a lot of depth to CS, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like football in the sense of even if you don't know all the rules about football, and I know there'll be plenty of you that don't like football, but someone could watch football and have a general understanding of what's going on pretty quickly. You have 2 goals, you have a football, you have 2 teams of 11, and they go against each other. Counter-Strike's the same. 2 bomb sites, 1 attack, 1 defend, 5v5. You buy guns. Like, it's quite simple, and the maps are designed quite simply for the most part. If you think of a classic like Dust 2, it's not a super complicated map. The complexity comes in the strats. It comes within the economy in the game and the individual players. But I think Valorant struggles with the fact of the abilities. Like, that really does add, like, a lot of clutter, I would say, that Counter-Strike doesn't have to deal with. Now the roles reverse. North on the T side going aggressively up ramp. At the first, if Snatchy gets sprayed down, which she does. AZ now with another, and just aggression. North mixing up the pace. Quite disciplined and regimented. For the most part on their T side, like North haven't gone for too many really aggressive plays as of yet, and that clearly caught Sprout off guard. V4. 2 CTs split up from one another. Dehan now realizing that B site may need to be filled in with his presence. Has some utility. Smoke goes in first, and an incendiary behind it. Cajun goes in, recklessly goes in. Maybe this is where that aggression needs to be tempered. And Dehan, the pole is lighting this round. And North, they can't deal with the heat it brings. Dennis should be going down to the hands of Gade, but Dehan may have done enough. This 2v4 is doable. He holds on to the site, going for the full defusal. Incendiary comes down, and he gets the defuse in amongst it before burning. A 2v4 with a Deha 3k. Gets out the gasoline, sets it alight, a North burn. Exquisite. exquisite plays from DreamHack, and now Sprout have 2 match points out of thin air. It looked as though this was done, that we were likely headed towards a second overtime, and we may still get there. But a huge play from DreamHack and an awful grenade from Spiddy, by the way. Won't cost them too much, but that play from DreamHack is so vital. Here come North again, going for that aggressive play up ramp, and it's going to yield 2 for 1. North, in the meanwhile, have a weakened MSL that needs to back away. It's not quite the 2v4 this time, but DreamHack alive on the B side, and with 2 players alongside him, he can play here again. DreamHack maybe too aggro himself. Peeks in, taken down. The economy of Sprout not in a great place, considering Snatchy down to $50, but they will stay in position. Sending the bomb back across to A. North don't want to fully commit to B again. It was their final resting place last round. Seems like they're changing up their angles. Instead of going back to A, they're going to try and pincer onto B via middle. Dennis instantly smashed. If he gets that kill onto AZ, that's really doable. Instead, though, North taking us 1 step closer to second overtime. What's the upload speed on my internet? I can't get fiber where I live, which is a bit of a nightmare. So I want to say that I pay for 80 down and 20 up, but I think what I actually get is like 70 down and 12 up-ish. So yeah, my internet compared to a lot of other people, pretty terrible. Oh, it's just a lockdown again. All 3 rounds on the T side for North basically being the identical start. Aggression up ramp. And Sprout have been there to greet them, and they've been beaten down comfortably. This is something Sprout will have to remedy. Assuming that they don't somehow turn this round back in their favor, although they do have the man of the hour DreamHack still alive. Assuming they can't convert from this point, going back onto the CT side again, this needs to be fixed. DreamHack and Dennis both get 1. They still have 3 more to find. Dennis can't transition. Nice try, but double overtime. The 3 ramp rushes in a row. Sprout, what do you do to contend with this? Double OT coming. Nando's knows. He knows, guys. Can tell the future. So double OT is here. Had a quad OT yesterday. Didn't feature either of these teams. So let's have a look, Sprout. What changes, if any, have you put into play here to stop these ramp pushes? And do we see North go for it again? Judging by their positioning, it would seem likely. In fact, it seems like it's definitely happening. North have MSL going straight in. It could be the same results, but he's getting wrecked up through the flashbang, through the canvas. Incendiary tossed in behind it. The CTs are all over the place. They're all over the shop. And they're being shut down. Deja vu, the same play again. Some slight tweaks to how the grenades are utilized, and it's the same results. AZ gets dinked, but gets the entry. This is looking bleak for Sprout. Have North finally got the right read? DreamHack and Dennis must be hating life right now. I mean, DreamHack's typically the B player. He's like, come on, guys. Hold A, please. This is outrageous. DreamHack, 1 on 5. Nearly getting 2 for his troubles. But even if he had got 2, it wouldn't have even been close enough to clutch the round. Right, no fast A play this time. The Sprout can rest easy. They did basically give it up this time. They went back onto the site, playing more passively and defensively. Now we're going to see Ramp being taken control over. MSL takes a little bit of chip damage through the smoke, but nothing too serious. Pushing into side. MSL pushed away. Oh, Favin checking the ground for the AK. That was not the time to do it. 3v3. And Sprout CT side is crumbling again. DreamHack needs to make moves through with Dennis. AZ perched up on the little fence. Perfect angle for the back room. And decapitates Dennis. DreamHack next to fall. And it's gone from being North on the ropes. 2 match points to Sprout. They're now North in the ascendancy. 1 round away from securing at least a triple overtime and having a clean sweep on their T side. Now again, Vertigo can be T-sided, absolutely. Both these teams have a higher win percentage on their T side than their CT side. But you need to give yourself something to play with if you Sprout. You need to get at least 1. I feel like they have to get this round. Not quite as rapid as previous rounds here on North, but it's the same idea and the same result. Lecro comes in and gets himself an entry. Favin at least holds himself off for 2. But considering that Spiddy's on a Deagle and they have an MP9, that may not be good enough. DreamHack with the drive-by, taking out the player, getting the AK. The bomb is dropped to the bottom side of ramp. I don't think Sprout have seen it. I'm pretty sure it's down on the left-hand side of the ramp, so they couldn't have got their eyes on it. So, as far as they're concerned, this is a B hit. Gade with 1 traded out, leaving it all on Cajun. An important moment in this match. Can Cajun clutch and get North into a clean sweep? If he does, they are going to be in such a good position. Is Cajun going to outthink himself? Had he gone to B, we have the benefit of seeing he would have had a free passage there. Instead, coming around the corner, gets fragged from Spiddy, who on 8 HP just about survives. I was assuming that Cajun had him dead to rights. Even if he did, it would have been at cost of some HP, and then that second player at the back room would have probably had him dead and buried the second he came around the corner. It may not have mattered a great deal. I think we'll probably have Dust joining for the next best of 3. We'll have some company for that one. How are you guys doing today anyway in chat? You all good? It's nearly the weekend as well, isn't it? I think when I cast like a lot of games, like every day kind of merges into one. I had no idea that it was Friday today. I suppose that's the other thing with COVID, right? Like when you're indoors most of the time, you kind of lose track of time a little bit. Here we go, guys. It's do or die time for both teams. Sprout, if they concede, they do have a third map to play on. That would be Train. Would be an interesting pit stop for the final map, to be fair, against these two teams. I wouldn't mind watching it. They will have their eyes set on taking this 2-0. A game we thought would be close has been very much the case. Grenade banking off the wall, not doing enough damage. And Diha takes a little bit. A bit of chip. You see the vast differences in terms of style between Sprout and North. North very aggressive on a lot of their T rounds up ramp, especially towards the end of regulation and overtime. And Sprout a lot more passive, disciplined, just taking systematic control over the map. They do like mid control, for example, and to then burst out through the ramp side or try and wrap around A or CT spawn. At this time that's dwindling away, though, they haven't really got a great deal for their troubles. Now they're starting to make moves in. Diha going in towards B. He is by and large alone. The bomb is still dropped down. They need to get kills. Sub 40 seconds left with no casualties and very little damage done and not enough utility that's been depleted on North. This could get awkward. Sprout need the entries. It's something they've been lacking. We saw AZ pull off a myriad of crazy plays earlier on. It typically falls down to Snatchy to get the first, and if he doesn't, they're in trouble. They line up and Gate sprays both of them down in the head. Kills Fabian through the first of Dennis, but now Snatchy comes alive before Cajun takes him off the table. 5 seconds to go. Good flick in, and that could be enough for Sprout. They do it with a second to spare. From 0 to 100 in the blink of an eye. And from 100 to 0 on most of those health bars on North. It's only Cajun that survives. The lone survivor. Wants to tell his own war story, but Snatchy will not allow that to happen. Pretty unbelievable that Sprout have brought this back. Easy to say. Thank you very much for the sub, bro. Oh man, that is a round that could have easily gone the way of North. When Gade gets the double spray on side with the AUG, it looked like enough time had elapsed that Sprout would just crumble, stumble, fall into the wall of North. But MSL with his AWP will make sure that that demolition doesn't fully come into play. This is still winnable for both teams. 22 is the number they're looking at. Wonder if this secures minimum of triple overtime. Spitty. Oh, his spray is so good. It started off controlled and then at the end just edges down slightly. It's the second head, slight gap in the smoke, and Fabian makes the most of it. It's looking like North may concede. Snatchy needs to go back and pick up the bomb, however. Does he go to B site? There's still plenty of time. We saw them 3-head themselves at the end of regulation, going for a late rotation to the other side of the map. They had the option here. They decided against it. Molly down to the back of the site. AZ and Lekro both full HP. And now AZ starts to think, well, hold on a second. Maybe they're going to B, but another smoke does plume. And with that information, he was holding fire. And now he's moving back again. 25 seconds to go. Snatchy caught a glimmer of Lekro. And dulls his senses with the AWP shot. The misdirection play has worked a charm. And now AZ needs to try and remedy the situation. But on top of that, I don't know if he can. Look at the economy of North. They are broke. Flat out broke, skint. They have no pennies remaining. It's going to be an incredibly rough buy. He's looking for any of the trimmings he can pick up, whether it be weapons or grenades or anything desperately. Scrambling and finds the AK under the corpse of Dihaz remains. So this could be it. Seeing an MP9. AZ can drop the AK to Cajun, who's on 33 frags. Lekro, the only player above him on his team. We have 35 on Snatchy as well, who's been great on both maps. He must be over 60 frags collectively in this best of 3 already, with another map potentially to play. But if we are going to see another map, it will have to be North coming back with a very rough buy, and it started well. AZ straight down into ramp with the MP9, sprays out, gets the frag. Meanwhile, Diha moving through the smoke. No players around here from North. Closest is Lekro, who needs to make a quick maneuver back towards the site. Now Cajun alongside MSL stuck on the site itself. We are going to see a massacre take place on B site. It is going to be all guns blazing. Spitty comes back with 2. MSL taking damage and has been fragged. A 1v1, and it's Snatchy that stands. I'm not entirely sure how the hell Sprout are in a position to maybe pull this off. But if Snatchy can 1v1 against AZ, they get all the chips going their way, and there's the flick. Sprout get it done. They take the series 2-0, and they will have the better seeding opposed to North. They had chances. That will be the bitterly disappointing.